attendance, and we're starting off this show today at the normal scheduled time. DonnaAnn is going to be busy for a few days, so she's going to be off and on the line as far as, of course, participating in the show as much as she can as possible. Today we're discussing COVID and the protests that's going on all across America, and of course, now President Trump has put troops or officers of the federal government into actual cities that is having the most unrest and locking people up. Now, this is my opinion about it. I could care less about the fact that you're locking up criminals, especially when a liberal city has failed to do the job over and over again, and is a continuous problem of murders, rapes, and crimes where there's no justice. And for those that have any problem with it, it says how much of an oxymoron these liberal leaders are. Now, here's how I look at it. In these same very cities, now, you're saying that coronavirus is a problem, and it's because of groups of people gathering in closed space. But the protests that are not peaceful is seeming like that's allowed, but COVID doesn't get the same warning to them as it does to law-abiding Americans. So I said to myself, this doesn't make no kind of sense for average Americans to be in fear and to go to the fact of these warnings and to say, okay, now you got mandate masks and now we have to do more restrictions, and that when states open up, the cases soared beyond imagination. And I said a couple of things. One, we don't have the data from the padded numbers. Two, we don't have a recovery rate. Three, we don't have the numbers being compared to the false positives that's coming out from these COVID tests. And then also the rest of it equals up to a lot of these liberal governors are just straight up idiots. Best way to say it. And now with schools being closed, and we are seeing district after district now, which was about to open, now saying, okay, well, we are going to turn that back around to actually going back to virtual learning. Now, this affects kids. Affects parents who have to go to work, child care, and more. So what we're seeing now is socialism on steroids. That's what it is, socialism on steroids. And it's happening all across America. And the problem is we had these weak, pathetic politicians once again showing failed leadership and, of course, throwing blame. Then we have Chicago Mayor Lightfoot, whatever her name is or whatever it may be, the one who said that I need to get a haircut during the coronavirus pandemic in our city because I got to be on TV. Also saying now, I do not want federal troops in my city, but your city is having genocide being done every single weekend, not only weekend, every single day. And you're saying that police and these troops that's coming in that will help with your problem, you're telling them, no, I don't need help. The police is already being overran with murder cases. How many detectives do you think is really investigating 86 murders in one weekend? And you're saying that they had the resources to solve the case. After a while, the murder is just put them in a body bag, put them in the ground, and basically we'll figure out how to catch up. And they are always basically being left behind. And then you're also talking about police being defunded in most of these cities. And mind you, these are liberal cities that are having the highest murder rate. They are having the protests on and on. And I'm saying to myself, this looks like COVID and the murders are basically being simultaneously added into the death rate because, see, what people got to realize when they keep saying complications of COVID, complications could be anything. That's why you don't directly just say COVID is exactly causing the deaths. You just say the complications. Okay, we can get to solve this murder or to this crime because we had a COVID emergency on the other side of town. So we're going to say that this death is a complication of the pandemic, a complication of COVID. So I said, why have we gotten to this point where now those who are screaming out fake news is putting out their own fake news? Then you got the puppet masters on the liberal networks talking about it's out of control, it's crazy, but they're also showing protesters, but they're not saying the same exact thing that this is also possibly the way it is spiking too. Then they said, oh, it's not because of the protests, it's because of what law-abiding Americans are doing, not the peaceful protesters or anything like that, because we have had gatherings, peaceful protests, whether it's 2A or campaign rallies or whatever have you, we have them. And to say the least, we don't have these type of problems that's going on in these liberal cities and more, because guess what? We know how to make change without actually burning down the building, toppling a statue, damaging people's property, and basically going around and causing chaos throughout the city to get our point across. Now, on August 18th, it is my understanding that there's going to be a rally in Richmond. I do plan to go, and it's in regards to Governor Northam, which is, of course, a COVID conspiracy theorist because he doesn't actually review data or whatever. He just basically just says, okay, this is what I'm going to do today just because I feel like it. And of course, he's going after 2A again on the assault weapons ban. So now we have COVID, we have socialism taking away up our guns, protesters that are still destroying America and still harassing people and threatening them. And this is the America that has become under their watch. That's what has happened. Now, this also makes the complications even worse because these protesters don't have nothing to do. We closed out jobs, so they don't have to go to work. We got unemployment on steroids, so it's being paid for and funded, these protests, because more than likely they are the ones who have the time to go out there and do what they've been doing. And then at the same time frame, we have, of course, those who are giving in. So now they are finding more momentum, more incentive to continue with these protests. And they are not worrying about coronavirus, says the least. Probably coronavirus has been all over these protests. And I don't see them dropping off. I don't see them dying. I do not see them talking about, hey, I got COVID and I'm about to pass away. I don't see those same protesters at those hospitals where they're getting coronavirus from these protests over there protesting at the hospital. Hey, come back outside because we got COVID too. Seriously, this is what Virginia is coming up to. So I want people to speak their mind on this. And also Chesterfield County Schools, Fairfax County Schools. The world is basically changing so rapidly to the point I understand why people are so much in fear, because realistically they don't know where to get leadership or guidance from, And as far as it's concerned, it's like, what else can we do to make sure America has anything left? Because while we are at home, if you ride around, certain places not open. Monuments is taken down in certain places. The protest is going on at city halls all over the place. And where I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have conservative Republicans and Tea Party patriots confronting BLM, but we talking trash about it. Let's be honest about it. But we expect for them to be able to handle it when they get into office, and then these same protesters are supposed to be meeting them too, because it seems like it's going to keep happening while the world is in this standstill. Our economy is in this standstill, and our tax dollars is funding the protests. That's what I'm pretty much saying. And with that being said, what do? We have all this chaos going on. America is on fire, and it doesn't have to be a flame lit, but we have basically fires brewing all over the place. As you watching most of your Facebook lives and you're Republican or conservative, you can see all down the line people being attacked all across America. The news ain't reporting that because the liberal media wants to make it look like they are doing something of civil disobedience when in fact they're not. So, what is the suggestion here? What do lawmakers do, and how do the American people respond that just wants to go back to their normal life before all of this craziness has happened? And like I tell people, we shouldn't have never been shut down. South Dakota has never been shut down, and we still have situations all the way across the board that continues to hamper our recovery response. So, as far as it's concerned, I want to hear from you on how do you feel about what's going on in America, and how do you feel that the situation has progressed to the point like this, and how do we resolve it? My plan is simple: open back up the schools, open back up the economy, get businesses back to work, and just let it be known this is a new disease that so happened to be here, just like the flu, just like cancer, just like AIDS. Like I said, we all have to die sometime, but this disease is clearly not a death sentence. Let's be factual. All the different celebrities who got COVID, and even in the early stages, are recovered and doing fine. So even that advertisement is over with. And then you even got some coming out like, hey, I didn't feel a damn thing. So what is really going on here is, to me, the fear tactics. They know social distancing is working, educating our kids and making sure that we keep them out of class. That means you can focus on targeted curriculum, which further corrupts our kids. And of course, if you have liberals in control of it, then liberals are going to be teaching exactly what them protesters out there that's destroying America will be learning. They will be learning this is how the change happens, this is how you get things done, and this is how you get grown up to go ahead and bow down. And that's the problem right now in America. We don't have enough people with their belt out and making sure they spank these badass kids. And that's what it looks like. And it looks like some people just didn't grow up, after they hit the age of being considered an adult, because he's doing stuff that only kids do. But that's another story. So when it comes down to all of this, I think President Trump is right to send in troops where, of course, the murder rates and more are climbing so astronomical that it makes no sense to delay a response any further. I'm pretty sure all of those families who have lost loved ones because of the violence and more are basically saying, hey, they didn't care about us, so we got to do what we got to do so we can walk the streets. Because honestly, I can't see too many people being comfortable in Chicago knowing the death rate is like that, and it's just a war zone in America. And of course, if you have a war zone in your own country, yes, you got to put a stop to it. And it ain't Trump firing the bullets or killing people. These are criminals. That's what it is. And the sad thing is, all of these mayors and all these different governors and more and stuff like that, and with all that's going on right now, don't care about the safety of their own people. Because realistically, if you lived in those areas, trust me, given how many bodies have been spread out all across Chicago in the last couple of years, there probably isn't a family that hasn't been directly impacted by gun violence, whatever it may be. And that just means basically those who ain't using it for the purpose of protecting themselves, but those who are using it to commit crimes. You have to say to yourself, if you can't get the job done, you're blaming the president that doesn't have control over your city. That's the part of separation between the federal government and state governments and local governments. And you're seeing this massive type of death and you're saying, I don't need help. That just says that you're promoting what's going on and you don't have a plan to stop it because you don't want it to stop. And it's the same thing with COVID. You don't have a plan for it. So If it's benefiting you, you don't want it to stop. And I wish certain politicians would get coronavirus so they could really tell me how they really feel. Talk from experience. That's how I look at it. Talk from experience. And let's see how really serious it is. Because nothing about these politicians through their actions through the last couple of months, especially for the ones who have been encouraging this type of conduct or action, has shown any kind of leadership. Not only have they not shown any kind of leadership, they have basically has shown that they will not accept any kind of accountability and won't do their job. So you're voting for people who basically you're paying for with tax dollars in these liberal cities and in these blue states that basically don't have no care of life, don't have no care for your family, have no care about this COVID pandemic, because basically they're like fear works. And when fear like this works and it's accomplishing the goals that you wanted to accomplish, then what can you say? So now we have every part of our economy, every part of our way of life right now has changed before our very eyes, and there's no sunlight, coming from this until we get these career politicians and those who need term limits out, so we can really focus on really what's impacting America. And what's impacting America is the fact that we have lazy Democrats that's riding a blue hate Trump, hate Republican wave, and we need more Republicans fighting back. So, like I said, you can't walk around and do what you got to do. I'm going to say it to the very least. Start talking to the other side. Start getting into there. Start having these debates. The candidates shouldn't be the only ones having these debates. It needs to be all of us having these debates and having these discussions about what is best for our families and our lives moving forward. And the best way to make sure that's done is basically getting past the thing of, well, this party said this about y'all. This party said that. No, let's stick to substance. We can easily win elections by sticking to substance, sticking to facts, and making Democrats have their backs against the wall. And that's what we need to do more of. Because actually, we can attack Democrats all we want. But like I was saying something earlier to some supporters of somebody else, and it was friendly advice. I can say that part. We must attack and be on offense. We can't continue. Right now, the Republican Party here in Virginia and throughout this country, we are playing defense. We can't keep playing defense. We got to start playing offense. We got to start attacking more. We got to start making sure we hit them where we need to hit them. And the simplest thing we can do is make sure we ask the questions. What has your party did for you? How has your life changed for the better? Has your locality gotten safer? Have you still seen the same uptick in crime? Has money in your pocket, are you making more or are you making less? And saying this is how we solve this problem. People are looking for right now, I don't care whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent, they are looking for solid answers. And the only thing they're going to do is follow anything that sounds good. But when it comes down to substance, you have to be able to explain it. And this is exactly what we should expect from COVID. This is exactly how we combat protests, because we are challenging them mentally, not on anything else. Because guess what? They convince these people to protest or convince people to be in fear of COVID. We must convince people not to be in fear of COVID, and we must be able to confront what they are protesting about with facts to say exactly they've been leading you the wrong way. This is what really is going on. And it ain't hard for people to say, hey, jump over a bridge. But guess what? We got enough people that's going to say to that person, if we could catch them before they decide to go off the cliff themselves, to say, hey, don't jump over the bridge. Look down. See what the result is. And when they look down, oh, I'm not going to jump over the bridge. I thought he said we could fly. Be honest about it. And we got a lot of politicians right now telling people that they could fly. They're like these protest leaders, just like this COVID announcement more saying, oh, we can fly, you know, and you're saying, where are your wings at? you know. So in general, like I said, this is going to be one of those short type of shows, and I just wanted to address people because we're going to keep doing this at 8 o'clock. This is our time as far as Republicans. It doesn't matter who you are to unwind, chill, get your voice heard, and also ask us politicians. And I am going to be bringing on other candidates in other districts and more, so y'all have a chance to ask them serious questions. And if they ducking and dodging, I'm going to call them out for it and say, hey, they need a serious answer. They need to know exactly what you would do, and then for them to make a decision. Because this is going to be hardball, whether it's for me, whether it's for other candidates that's out there or not. Like I said, you're going to have a chance to actually know your candidate, or know your leadership and what they stand for. And I can say this one: I'm not going to cut corners. I don't expect any of those who view Republicans married to independents to cut corners at all, because anybody who has been on my pages or whatever know the First Amendment is very, very well protected. We call it like it is. I really don't tell my supporters what to say. I tell them to go ahead and shoot for the juggler. And that's exactly why I preach. And that's exactly why I protect. And that's exactly why I'm going to keep condoning, because these liberals don't deserve anything better than what the hell they've been giving us. And I said it's time for us to go ahead and take it up to another level. So this is Merle Rutledge. This is Republicans Married to Independents on his thoughts, on my thoughts, sorry, about COVID and protests. DonnaAnn will be back on the show like usual. I just came on the line because I've just finished working out, getting prepared for a long campaign tour and more. I think other candidates is doing exactly the same exact thing, and we're trying to get it in because we don't know when Governor Tyrant Northam is going to decide on trying to go ahead and scare people from campaigning. So this is Merle Rutledge. This is Republicans Married to Independents, and you have yourself a wonderful day and good night.